Go make sure you do it on the YouTube, on the Instagram. Never mind, I got it. Here we go. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, adults and others. Today, I'm here with a special guest, and I want to go on ahead and introduce him. But before we go on ahead, this is the Wolf of Wall Street / Smoke Street, co-branded version brought to you by Merchant Service Depot and Expedio Payments. As you all know, I'm AJ, and it's my pleasure as a payment industry leader who's worked along closely with some of the merchants across wide ranges of industries. I'm here with Expedio Payments and my buddy Peter over at Merchant Service Depot. Peter's the Chief Revenue Officer over at Merchant Service Depot, and he has deep experience in the high-risk acquiring space. With gateways and card issuing programs, Peter's worked directly with many merchants and ISOs and has agents with a great, stable, complementary solution, and some with most challenging verticals often get approved when they deal with Peter. Again, I want to introduce Peter. Peter, welcome aboard. How are you today, bud?
Thanks, AJ. I'm doing great. Thanks for that kind introduction.
Oh, man, don't worry about it. I really appreciate what all you guys do over there for me. So, Peter, great to have you today. Now, again, we're talking high-risk merchants. Always have faced challenges, but lately with the new VAMP program, Pete, coming down the pipe, the Visa Acquirer Monitoring Program has been a big topic. And for those of you who aren't as deep in the weeds as like we can sort of say, let's go on ahead and take a moment and explain what VAMP is and help us out, Pete. Actually, why are so many merchants feeling pressured by it and so many are already affected and it hasn't even rolled out all the way?
Great question, AJ. You know, the VAMP rules are coming into play now. We're already seeing people get shut off for a variety of reasons, and banks really wanting to protect themselves. But in a nutshell, VAMP is short for Visa Acquirer Monitoring Program. It's basically Visa's way of keeping a close eye on acquirers and the merchants that they sponsor. In theory, it's meant to protect the card networks and consumers from fraud and excessive chargebacks. But in practice, especially for the real high-risk merchants, it can feel like playing a game where the rules are stacked against you. The thresholds for fraud and the penalties for crossing those lines can really nail these merchants. So it's essential that they understand what the new rules are. What does it mean for them? What does it mean for their processor? And even agents too, what does that mean for them?
So essentially, it's not just the merchant who is under the microscope; it's also the acquirer.
Exactly. Visa puts the responsibility on the acquirer to control the merchant behavior. And because acquirers don't want risk fines or scrutiny or reputational risk, whatever it may be, oftentimes what we're seeing is that they'll just cut ties with the merchants the minute things start trending in the wrong direction. Um, we recently got a guy that was running like 15% declines. They shut him off. We were able to get him a mid somewhere else once they came over to us at MSD. But for a high risk merchant, whether it's CBD, vape, nutraceuticals, direct marketing, MLMs, that's absolutely terrifying for the merchant because your ability to process payments could just get shut off overnight.
That's got to be a big deal because most businesses, if their credit card processing stops, the business itself grinds, comes to a halt as well.
Absolutely correct. If you have no payments, you have no sales. And if you have no sales, you have no revenue. And the thing is, many of these businesses are perfectly, boardable, legitimate businesses. They're licensed, they're compliant, they're serving real life customers, but they're almost getting tacked down just because of the nature of the specific industry that they're in. So they're constantly walking a fine line with the Visa monitoring program.
Wow. So let's talk about the specific pain points merchants are actually facing under VAMP, and why would you say what's the number one challenge?
Well, there's a lot of different things to it. You add in the Visa real-time AI monitoring on top of the VAMP, and it can be really difficult. In my opinion, doing this for about 20 years now, the biggest challenge is exceeding the chargeback thresholds. So Visa sets a hard line. Typically, it's between 0.8 and 1%, depending on the process you're working with. And if a merchant goes over that threshold, they risk being enrolled in monitoring programs like VVMP, which is basically the dispute monitoring program that you can get on. But for a high-risk business that naturally sees more customer disputes, that's a really tight margin, especially when you get into like the larger merchants that are running 500K to $1 million plus. Those are the guys that really are going to be impacted by this.
And a lot of those disputes are those aren't even fraud, right? Like those aren't fraud.
Yeah, you'd be surprised. Many of it is what they call friendly fraud. I'm sure you know what that is. Customer buys a supplement, let's say, uses it for a couple weeks, claim they didn't authorize the purchase. Maybe their hair didn't grow back like some of us need, and it didn't work, so you charge it back or whatever. Maybe they forget they signed up for a subscription, didn't realize they were starting up for the charges. Those disputes come against the merchant, just like fraud would when they push the ratio higher in regards to chargeback.
Wow. I mean, let me ask you, that sounds like a game changer, stopping the problem before it even counts against you.
Absolutely. And that's where companies like ours, Merchant Service Depot, and your firm Expedio, kind of really shine. On my side, we have a really big gateway called the Tag Gateway. Combine that with charge mitigation, like fraud deflect. What that means is the merchant can kind of intercept the disputes before they hit, keep them as adjustments or retrievals, and then enact RDR. So if a customer complains, instead of that dispute becoming a formal chargeback, the merchants get a set limited amount of time to resolve it or refund it proactively. That alone can really make the difference between staying under the thresholds or getting flagged. And I can tell you, from what I'm already seeing just the last 2 weeks, like this is a real thing that is happening. It's not kind of one of these things. I know things happen in our industries when a new thing comes out and people kind of get their feathers ruffled. Visa, MasterCard will give you a break. Oh, you know what? We said October, but we're going to push that out a whole year. This is already live and it is real.
And it's crazy because it's a game changer. Like I said, trying to avoid the problem before it even starts is what counts. Getting these merchants and protecting them before they even, fall into these problems and helping them stay aware is something that's really pivotal right now in the industry.
Exactly. And that's where I would say, in a endless sea of sales agents and different banks and processors and stuff, You really want to find one that's going to be more proactive than reactive, right? Because if you can get ahead of the chargeback, you're going to stop the problems from happening. If you just get a bunch of chargebacks, the ISO or the processor, whoever it is, the bank, they're going to react to it and they're going to react to shutting it down. So if you're just waiting to hear over the line, it might already be too late for you if you don't have some, proactive mitigation services in place for your business.
Well, let me ask you, what about the transparency? I heard a lot of merchants say they don't even know where they stand, and they're in trouble.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, that's another huge issue. Visa doesn't exactly provide merchants with a live scoreboard. So most of these people, unless they're looking at their merchant portals every single day, or you have a very proactive sales partner that's watching it for you daily, you won't even know that you're getting close to the violation until they get a phone call from either their acquirer or their sales. What we've done a little bit to get it proactive on that is the tag gateway. We built dashboards that give them real-time visibility into chargebacks, fraud rates, thresholds. So instead of guessing it, they can track and adjust it in real time before it gets to the point where Visa's like, "Hey, what's that down there?" And then they start digging into you.
No, no, exactly. And let's stay in touch with the on the acquirers for a second. You mentioned earlier that they're under pressure from Visa too. Um, so I was wondering if we can go a little bit further into a little bit of, what the acquirer. You mentioned the VAMP program, and where there's a lot of
Yep.
high risk merchants that are feeling abandoned at this point. Like, where do you see the future going? And the feeling of abandonment.
That's a great question. I appreciate you asking it. I think there's a couple of different things. Probably the biggest one for direct merchants is going to be kind of that surprise factor, right? Maybe I think that's probably the most stressful part of it is you're running your business, you get up at 9 a.m., you go to run a payment and it fails and you're just shut off and you don't even know. Typically they shut it off before they give the notice. They'll kind of have a period of like, hey, what's going on? Wasting time making some phone calls. Um, you know, if you don't know you're even around that point, you're watching it, you've got a few things pending. You can make the business decisions, tighten fraud filters, use 3DS to issue proactive refunds, maybe tweak your checkout process. That's one thing that my firm and your firm is really great at is taking these very hard to place, high compliance customers. We scrub their website. Hey, before you can send you to the bank, you got to do this and this. Kind of get ahead of a lot of that stuff. But I think to answer your question about the pressure of it and kind of how that trickles down to the merchant, basically when an acquirer sees a merchant approaching VAMP thresholds, they'll
Right.
kind of go into this like self-preservation mode, and that can mean a couple of different things. Sometimes it can mean hiking a reserve, adding rolling reserves if there's not one already, and in some cases, like we've both seen in the last week, just terminating the account, the merchant relationship outright. From the acquirer's perspective, just from a massive top level down, on the bank side, it's safer to lose one merchant than risk getting flagged by Visa at the acquirer. Because once they flag you as an acquirer, they're really going to start to come in and really audit the hell out of your merchants.
And that becomes a real problem. I mean, many merchants shell out thousands of dollars piecemealing solutions, and a lot of vendors for fraud and chargeback alert. I know what MSD does is you guys are inside the gateway and you guys use a tag. And can you talk a little bit about the tag and juggling, like, the different streamline opportunities that you have in there? And then we can pick back up from, obviously how you guys can make life easier for merchants who are already juggling as much.
So we have a gateway that works with Elevon and WorldPay right now. And it's completely hard coded. It's not like a white label of some other gateway that a lot of people just white label one of our competitors and say it's theirs. And there's multiple benefits to having it totally in-house designed, right? We have a customer that wants it looks a little different. We can service that. We can tweak it, make small adjustments as we see fit. But kind of the biggest thing is, as I said earlier, acknowledging the chargeback and if someone needs RDR, which a lot of these high risk people don't have it, are going to go get it. In addition to that, we get over 300 velocity controls. We can block certain issuers. We can block certain bins from coming in. Um, you can run transaction routing on multiple mids through there. So if you got a decline on one mid, they can cascade down, like cascading the transactions down. Obviously, we have 3DS2. There's a bunch of options we have. Text to pay, combine that with 3DS, that'll shift the liability for the chargeback. But at the end of the day, Gateway for us is more of a tool to ensure customer service with these clients. Everything's on us. We don't for competitor gateway to respond to us. We get the VAR, we load it in. We're 10 minutes later able to process. But in a nutshell, the gateway has been around for about 20 years, and it's 100% still high risk from the ground up. So it can do everything that most other gateways do. Then it has a lot of unique features in it that really can bring the data up to the foresight of the merchant and say, oh, okay, you know what? I've gotten 4 or 5 chargebacks. I don't usually get that. Something's going on. They don't have to remember to log into a separate merchant portal because all that data in the gateway's live. So you can just
Wow,
see it right there while you're doing your daily business.
I guess that's got to be honest with you, that's got to make life easier and for a lot of merchants, and it really does. I mean, high risk merchants are asked for a free pass often, and they ask for fair tools and fighting chance, and I guess that's what you guys give them. Now, Peter, if you had to boil it down, what's your advice to any high risk merchant listening right now?
Sure. Well, what I would kind of tell any merchant is if you are someone that got shot off, there's still hope for you. First of all, if you're one of these people that have been impacted by that, you probably feel abandoned by your bank, your sales rep, or whoever you're working with, and it gives them the feeling that nobody wants to fight for them. Oh, you know what? This isn't going to prove it. Or I don't really want to. You're starting to see a little bit of that in the sales field. But we only work with hires who are comfortable in these high risk spaces. We built relationships with banks over the last 20 years that really understand these industries. So, if you have 1 or 2 statements that are fine, maybe your last payment business is great because of the VAMP stuff, we're able to work around that. There's different things that we can get from people in terms of collateral documents to push that through. But at the end of the day, we really work with the merchant to fix the issues and give them a little education and empower them that, you know what, you were doing something for 10 years, the rules have changed. Let us take a look at your business audit, and we'll tell you exactly what you need to do before we even put the application in. And we can solve a lot of those problems without even mitigation sometimes. You have all the tools in the world. At the end of the day, if you're with a bank that panics every time Visa blinks their eye, you're gonna shut down. So it's really important that you have 3 things in a sales partner. One, someone actually cares about your business. You're not a number on a spreadsheet. 2, you have to have the right relationships with the banks, and then also a proactive sales rep that's going to be looking at your data, even though you have no idea that we are. We monitor that all day, every day. When we see a trend happening, we alert the merchant or the sales partner, let them know, hey, you got to watch out for this. This is what we would advise you to do, and give clear, concise instructions.
So basically, don't wait for Visa to send you that warning letter. Be proactive. Get with the right gateway partner and the acquirer that understands your industry, and use chargeback mitigation before disputes spiral out of control is what basically Peter's saying. And if you don't do these 3 things, you'll run your business into the ground. And if you do, you'll run it with confidence instead of fear. Now, that's powerful stuff right there, and thank you, Peter, for adding all that. Now, for anyone listening, both Expedio Payments and Merchant Service Depot are here to help. We're one of those type of outfits that we work hand in hand with each other, and whether you're an agent in ISO or just a merchant direct, reach out and let's put the right strategy in place for the VAMP program that becomes a problem. Now, Pete, what do you think?
It's good advice to give anyone that's struggling with this for sure. The other real problem these guys can face too, AJ, is that on these bigger clients, maybe like CBD wholesaler, vape wholesalers, MLM, neutral combos, they run a lot of volume. They're extremely high risk, right? So these guys are selling thousands of dollars for this kind of piecemeal solution. You have one vendor to mitigate fraud, you have another vendor for chargeback alerts and RDR resolution. You might have another one like a CRM for reporting. What we're able to do is kind of consolidate that all into one portal with our gateway. But even if you don't use our gateway, there's still plenty of ways that we can help you. If you're a merchant that's already integrated to NMI or OpNet or something like that, there's things in those systems that they might not tell you to turn on. You can adjust on your checkout page. Maybe, if you're running like 2 years subscriptions, we'll tell you to back off that. 12 months, don't go over that. Um, but basically, what it allows you to do is streamline, because that's just think about that, right? 5 different portals to manage all this on top of running your business sounds like a nightmare to me, AJ.
Exactly. The worst part, and very well said, the worst part of positioning yourself with anybody is being reactive. The best positioning is being prepared. Well said. Thank you very much again, Pete.
And AJ, if I could say one more thing, you said earlier, high risk merchants after free pass. There's a lot of them that do it. There's definitely a good group in there in high risk that they really just need spare tools and a fighting chance. And that's what our companies give them. My best advice is, don't wait for Visa to send you that warning letter because it's already too late. Be proactive. Get the right gateway. Partner with a good acquirer that understands your industry and your business specifically. Use chargeback mitigation, RDR, before you just spiral out of control. If you do those 3 things minimum, that's a giant improvement off what most people are running right now.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. So thank you everybody for following. Now, and if you're in the high risk merchant and worried about VAMP, don't worry until the end. And before you get hit with, all the fines and things that come with it, reach out to Merchant Service Depot and Expedio Payments today to protect your business, reduce chargebacks, and keep your business running smoothly. Now, once again, you could reach out to Merchant Service Depot and Expedio Payments. We work side to side, hand in hand. Thank you once again, Pete. Pete, one of the best in the industry. He actually knows his stuff. We have a 10-page checklist that if you DM us on any of our social media, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, or Facebook, we'll be happy to go on ahead and share the top 10 problems high-risk merchants face with Visa VAMP and how MSD and Expedio solve them. So once again, if you guys want any more information, feel free to DM us. And Pete, any final words that you'd like to plug on other than MSD? Let's go.
No, at the end of the day, I think both AJ and I are just here to help customers solve problems and earn the right to their business with good customer service, fair rates, and transparency.
Wonderful, wonderful. And one thing that you left out is, more important, everybody talks about those things, but one of the things that I think you leave out, and I think it's because you don't want to pat yourself on the back, is relationship building. And the fact of the matter that everybody over at MSD goes on ahead and goes the extra mile to make you feel welcome and welcome. So why don't we all go on ahead and give it up for our friends and family over at MSD. Thank you, Pete. And hopefully we'll make a round 2. We have some things coming down the pipe. I believe we have something scheduled. What's coming up, Pete? What do you have coming up?
I think on Tuesday, there's been some recent changes specifically around the vape industry.
Right.
There was a law. It's called SB 2024. And basically what that means is it's a big, complicated legal bill, but the meat of it is that you can't sell, market, or ship any cannabinoid containing vape products in Texas. And we've got a really nice setup for people to react to this and template that we'll go over.
Pete, put it back in the bag. We don't want to let out the episode before they come.
No.
Leave them with a cliffhanger, Papa.
I'm excited about it. It's going to be a really, really good podcast. So make sure you don't miss that one, guys.
All right. Well, listen, I will be happy to go on ahead and answer any questions that come our way via text, email, or through the DM system. I'll be happy to go on ahead and share Pete's information if anybody on my platform is looking for more information about MSD. And once again, please hit the subscribe, like, and follow button to go against all platforms that help support the cause. We're not here for the money. We're here for the movement. So once again, guys, please go on ahead and smash that like button, follow, and all of those things that come along with, helping support the cause. Don't be a hater, be a participator, and let's make it happen. And hey, guys, thank you once again, Pete. It was a pleasure having you. Well spoken. I mean, man, I'm often, out here, but very, very, very few times am I, spoken over. So you did a good job, Papa.
I appreciate the kind feedback, and you definitely checked all the boxes. You know, MSD, we're just, we love revenue, but it's about relations, helping people, learn and educate about high risk, be successful, make their own money. So,
Fantastic. All right, guys, we really appreciate it. Jorge, let's wrap this up. So, guys, once again, MSD, Merchant Service Depot, and you guys all know Expedio Payments LLC on all platforms, Instagram, YouTube, IG, and TikTok. So we really appreciate you guys, and don't forget the Facebook. Like,